We need to start thinking about how we're going to be displaying this data out specifically to the admin user. And then this will allow the admin user to administrate the users, like editing, creating and deleting the users. So the first thing we're going to do is set up our routes, and in particular set up a route group for this. Now there were some changes to the routing in Laravel 8, so I'm going to discuss them with you as well, and also show you how to do it the old way pre-Laravel 8, if that's what you prefer. So I'll leave that decision down to you which one you pick and go with. So over in our routes file in the web routes, I'm just going to create a new route here. So we are going to be creating a resource for admin user controller. But before we create our routes, I'm just going to be creating a new controller. I'm going to namespace this under admin. So all of our admin controllers are all under one namespace in a separate folder. That keeps the application tidy as it grows. I'm also going to make this controller a resource controller. So in our terminal, I'm going to do a PHP artisan make controller, and I'm going to put this in a admin namespace, and then we can do // and then we can call user controller. And then finally on the end, we want this to be a resourceful controller, so we can just do a -r, and then that'll create the resource controller for us. So in our app folder now under HTTP controllers, we now have an admin folder, and inside of there we have the user controller. And as you can see, Laravel has scaffolded out a resourceful controller for us. So we got the index method, create, store, show, edit, update and destroy. So I'm just going to be using this index one for the moment. So let's just do a die and dump inside of here, and let's just say index method on user controller. That just knows that we're going to the correct method when we route to it. So over in our routes file, that's under routes web.php, we need to link to our new controller. Now routing's slightly changed now in Laravel 8, so you have to bring in the controller's namespace when you're linking to it. So let me just give an example here. So like in previous version of Laravel, we're going to call route, and it's going to be a resource route. So that'll create all our routes for index, edit, destroy, etc. I want this to go to a URL of admin/users. I'm going to link this to that user controller that we just created. You can see there now PHP Storm brought in the entire namespace for me. Now I understand this looks a bit messy, so what we can actually do is, if we just take this part of the namespace here, not including the class, and up the top call use, then we just want to paste that in there, get rid of the first /. So we're bringing that in. And now we can just get rid of this part here and just call the user controller, because PHP knows it's using this user controller as the full path to its namespace. So over in our application, let's just hit that URL. We're going to /admin/users. And you see we get our die and dump. So that is now routing to our admin controller. Now the benefit of doing it this way is if you've got a decent IDE, this route is now clickable. So when you have a list of loads of routes here, it can be a bit tedious to navigate around the code base finding where it is. But now, because we're bringing it in here, we can actually just control and click on it, if your editor of choice supports that. And you see that now takes us directly to the controller. So that is the pro of it, but the con of it is you're going to have a load of use statements at the top. So we can actually improve this a little bit by setting a namespace. Let's go back into our app folder and we'll come to providers and open root service provider. And then if we just scroll down a bit here, we can see it's commented out already, so it's there so we don't have to type it. But let's just uncomment this. And this creates a namespace for our routes. So it's saying all of our controllers are going to be under app HTTP controllers. So now that we've uncommented this, back over in our routes, we can actually just get rid of this first part of the use. And we can just say use admin user controller. So that shortens it down a bit. But also we can do the routing the old way. So I'm just going to comment out this use statement for now. And then down here, I'm just going to get rid of this user controller class. And I'll put a string in instead saying admin/user controller. Then back over in our application, just give this a refresh. And you can see we can still get to this method. So it's up to you which way you do this. You can do it the old way that Laravel used to always do it with the string. or you can bring in the class. Now I'm going to be doing it the new way in this series, but you can use this if you wish. I'm going to bring in the user controller again and just uncomment this use line. So just a word of warning here, if you've not seen my previous videos, you can see some text here in light grey colour. So we've got name colon, controller colon, view colon, and URI colon. And these are injected in by my IDE PHP Storm. And this is just letting me know what them functions are expecting. So like here it's saying the first parameter is expecting a name and the second parameter is expecting a controller. These bits of text aren't actually inside the file. These are just like superimposed over the file by PHP Storm to make development easier. So you don't have to type these out. So anything in this light grey colour, don't worry about it. You do not need to type them in. They aren't really there in the real file. So now let's just do a root list to see what roots we've had now. So we can do a PHP artisan root colon list. As always, that goes off my screen because my text is so big for the recording. But we can see up the top here, we now have these roots. So we have admin/users for the index. And we also have our store, create, destroy, update, show, and edit roots. So this is good, but we can do better. We can create a root group for this, and we can give it names and prefixes, so we don't repeat ourselves all the time. And it also makes sure the names are also namespace when we call them in our view files. Let's take a look at this. So let's just create a root group here, and then this accepts in a closure, and then inside of the closure is where we place all of our roots. So we're going to put this resource root inside of here, and now anything we apply to this root group will apply to all of the roots inside of it. So I'm going to make this admin specific because there's probably going to be three main areas of this application. The first area is going to be the public facing website where a user can log in and register, for example. The second part is going to be the user section where the user logs in and the user can see certain things. And then the third part is going to be the admin section where an admin user can log in and then they get access to just the admin part. So I'm just going to put a comment here saying admin roots so we know what they are. And now we can apply different methods to this group and it will then apply to all of the roots inside of it. Obviously we've only got this one at the moment, but as the application expands then you'll see the benefit of doing this. So just before the group here, let's give this a prefix. And I'm going to say prefix. I'm going to give this a prefix of admin. And then we just put in our arrow syntax to chain on to the next method. Now what this allows us to do, it allows us to namespace the roots. So we can actually just get rid of this admin part now. Then what this will do is, as we expand down and create more roots, we won't need to keep putting admin in and repeating ourselves. So all the roots inside this group will now have a prefix of admin. And the next thing I'm going to do is also prefix the root names. So we can do that by calling the name method. I'm going to give this a prefix of admin dot. And then again, just put our arrow syntax in there. And then what this does is it prefixes all the root names inside of this group only with admin dot. So let's take a look at this now in our root list again. This is what we currently have. There's our names for the roots. So I'm just going to run the PHP artisan root list command again. And now we can see under our admin roots, all of the names are prefixed with admin. So this keeps everything much more verbose. When you're creating your views, you know exactly that you're going to the admin version of the users index page. And you can see here in the URI, even though we didn't put admin in front of it in our root file, the root group has actually applied the admin prefix as well. Okay, so that's our grouping complete for now at least. And this will make sure everything stays neat and tidy as our application grows now. So now let's put a link in our view file to our index page. So under resources views, I'm going to open up the templates folder and open up that main.blade.php. Now as you remember in the earlier videos, we created a new link here called users, and the home one was originally from the original Laravel template. But now we can actually create this link to the users. So in here, we're just going to open up the Blade syntax and we're going to call the root helper method. And then we just want to go to that name that we just created. So we want to go to admin.users.index. Now let's try this out in the browser. So if we just click our users link now, you can see that takes us to our die and dump on the user controller. Okay, so on this page, we just want to grab all the users and then send them back down to the view so they can be displayed out. So if you like this, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe so you get future updates. And if you can support me by following me on Twitter, or if you can buy me a coffee on the Patreon, the links are in the description, that'll be much appreciated.